On today's episode, we're going to continue the celebration of the release of The Last Imperator, which came out 3 days ago. Since it is science fantasy, I thought I would spend the episode talking about magic systems. What are magic systems? How are they divided up? And what's the best magic system for your story? Hello, Hinlevlings. I'm Madi, science fiction and fantasy author who's been living in southern Germany since 2014. So, magic system. It's what makes a fantasy, and the amount found in a story differs from story to story. Even the opinion as to the amount of magic necessary for a story is the equivalent of the different opinion concerning garlic. Some people like it to be the main ingredient of a meal, like myself, while others only want a hint of it. There is no wrong answer. I am in the midst of working on an anthology for my REBIRTH saga that already has an established magic system, but I am also in the planning stages of another series that requires a new one. I didn't expect coming up with a new one to be so hard, but I have been doing research and I thought it would be a good thing to share said wealth with you today. But before we get started, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell if you haven't already. Here on Adventures of Lamadi, we talk about writing, living abroad, and everything in between. So let's start with the basics. Magic systems are divided into two camps: hard magic systems and soft magic systems. Hard magic systems normally have rules and limitations, while soft magic systems is more like shock and awe without going into the nitty-gritty. You can actually find a great example of both in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings series. The Ring of Power can make the wearer invisible, and prolonged use as well as prolonged contact can also drive the wearer mad. We also know that while wearing the ring, it makes you invisible. It actually makes you 100% visible to Sauron, whose attention is the last one you want to get. So that is a perfect example of a magic system with rules and limitations. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Gandalf. What exactly are his powers? I don't know. But they sure as hell look great. It is pure shock and awe that serves the purpose of the plot when necessary. But the line between the two magic systems isn't so cut and dry either. One of my favorite magic systems is from Elizabeth Haydn's Symphony of Ages. She has a music-based magic system, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful, and I can never get tired of it. I had made a post on Instagram asking people to tell me what they preferred, hard magic systems or soft, and one of my close friends brought up Symphony of Ages, and we started discussing what that magic system falls under, hard or soft. And at first I thought soft, because we know so much of what Rhapsody can do with her magic, but we don't necessarily know the limitations. However, now that I have thought about it, I think it does waver between the two, because there are limitations that I had forgotten about until I revisited. So the main character, Rhapsody, is both a singer and a namer. To become one is to undergo years of training, and also they must explicitly tell the truth. Their magic system is literally rendered useless if they lie. So Rhapsody has to navigate a very cutthroat world and do it with integrity and honesty. It's actually a lot harder than it looks. But I still feel like it has that whiff of soft magic, because the rules of the magic still seem a little fluid at times, but that's okay. There's okay. There's no hard and fast rules, which is a good thing, because you can, kind of figure out your own magic system that works best for you in your story and world. But how do you figure that out? Well, one resource I cannot recommend enough is Brandon Sanderson's class on writing. It's on YouTube, it's free, and it's like 12 hours long and worth every second. There is an episode on magic systems, which I will link, at least in the description, if not up here, but it'll definitely be in the description. So Sanderson divides his rules into 4 parts. Number 1, your ability to solve problems in a satisfying way with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. This means if you want magic to be all shock and awe, it's best to not explain it too much. Going back to the Lord of the Rings example, when Gandalf fights against the Balrog and Fellowship, we don't necessarily know how his magic works, but we know that it looks cool and amazing, and it elicits an emotional response. If we know how his magic worked in that moment, it wouldn't be as cool, honestly. However, because we know the rules of the Ring of Power, we know that Frodo using the One Ring will make him invisible if he needs to get out of an immediate danger. But it puts him in plain sight of Sauron, so you can also have great power that comes at a price in order to cause tension. And here you can see that using the rules can help with tension and plot. And we know that because we know the rules of the power. You know what I mean? You see where I'm going with this? Anyway, so number 2. Limitations of powers are usually more interesting than the powers themselves. So this is important if you want to avoid a deus ex machina, or the god out of the machine. This term originated in traditional Greek theater as a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem in a story is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence. You don't want your magic to be so perfect that it solves all of your problems. You need to have limitations in your magic, and it is a great way to create more conflict for your characters. I mean, I'm not saying magic can't solve problems, but if you go that route, make sure to have a moment where the magic doesn't solve a problem in order to balance it out. Another way of instilling a limitation can also be in the form of a price the character pays while using the magic. So an example here is the Aes Sedai from Robert Jordan's A Wheel of Time. Women can channel the one power, but men cannot without going mad. And the madness becomes worse with each subsequent use. At least that's how I remember it. It's been well over a decade since I read A Wheel of Time, and I think that's, but I still think that that's an interesting magic system to have, like someone being capable of using that power, but that having such a huge cost. Number 3 is expand what you already have before you add something new. Sanderson says this is more about keeping things simple. This is a problem you run into with people who like dabbling in, say, elemental powers. To give you a personal example, in the Rebirth saga, I have talked about a race of beings called the Velocio who can control different elements. There are 13 potential powers. Do I name them all? When I was younger, in earlier versions, I did. I really did. Do I now? No. Granted, there are a lot of few powers in the series, but in all honesty, I can only focus on a few. They all still operate within the same rules. It's all based on alchemy and transmutation, so they can only manipulate what's already there. Someone with lightning can manipulate air particles and charge them, create lightning. A person with illusion can rearrange what's there to make something different. A person with plants can control the growth and decay, but only from borrowing energy from another plant that's already in the room. Like, you know, I can make one rule and all the elemental powers have to kind of adhere to it in some way. The idea is, though, like, there's no point in naming all of those magic systems, like all of those magical powers. I only use the ones that I need for the story. It's nice to have for, you know, the whole like iceberg idea with world building. That's fine if you know that there's a lot of other magic systems out there, but unless it is necessary for the story, don't worry about it. Just have it on the back burner. There are more rules to this magic system, but in the first book, you only learn about this type of energy transference. And in the next book, I build on that. And in the book after that, I will build more. It's better to go deeper into the magic system you already have than trying to have everything at once. Your magic system will feel more real that way. Number 4, and his last one, well, technically this is the last one. Err on the side of awesome. I think the best way to explain this quote is from the lecture notes of Brandon Sanderson's series. What we are doing in this genre is stuff that is awesome. This is what separates science fiction fantasy from, say, poetry. We want to make dragons. Dragons do not make sense, but they are cool. Some things are awesome because they are awesome. Always be doing things that you think are awesome. This is about making sure that whatever you are doing, you love it. Being a writer is and always will be about playing the long game, so you have to be passionate about what you're doing. So if you want to write a space adventure that includes dragons because it's awesome, write it because it's awesome. This is why we write science fiction and fantasy. To be honest, I have barely scratched the surface of this lecture. It is like an hour long, by the way, but I do highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch it if you want more information on magic systems. What about you? What do you think is important when creating a magic system? What is your favorite magic system? Let me know in the comments below. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. It lets me and YouTube know that you like this kind of content and you want to see more. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or there's a certain topic you'd like to see on this channel. If you want fun escapism, my space fantasy The God Queen and its sequel The Last Imperator are available in ebook, paperback, and hardback. I have all the links in the description below. If you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get the first 6 chapters of The God Queen, as well as this prequel short story, The Knight and the Goddess. So sign up! Also, if you have read any of my work or the work of your favorite author, please leave a review. They really help us authors out, and it is free to do so. And don't forget to connect with me on social media, whether it is through Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And that's it. Until next time, adi!